As you can tell, we are in the midst of a major renovation of our kitchen. And if you could see completely around this kitchen, you'd see that cabinets are gone, stoves are gone, refrigerator, freezers are gone. There's a lot of stuff that's gone because as we renovate this, we're going to be trying to put in a whole new set of kitchen equipment and counters and everything else. And it's going to be exciting, but it's really kind of a hard thing right now because we're going to be without a kitchen for a lot of our summer. Well, I was thinking about this as the perfect place to do this devotional because I was last couple weeks I've been reading this really wonderful devotional that was talking about our need to be connected to God and how that connection with God is so important. And in the midst of reading this, I was reminded of this passage of scripture from Isaiah 43. Now, I've read Isaiah, I think, before in some of these devotionals, and it's one of those passages of scripture that we often come back to because of just these profound things that Isaiah says in the midst of all that's going on in the nation of Israel. See, Isaiah, the book of Isaiah was written before, during, and after the period of exile. So before exile, there's lots of warnings about what is to come if they don't change their ways. During exile, there's a lot of ideas of God is still with us. And then as they are looking to get out of the period of exile, there's all these wonderful stories or these wonderful quotes, just these wonderful truths about how God is going to remake Israel, remake the nation, and God is going to do some new things. And one of those passages comes right from Isaiah 43. And in Isaiah 43, 18 and 19, it says this: "Do not remember the former things, or consider the things of old. I am about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." You know, as I've said, that is such a profound statement, this idea that I am going to do a new thing, but in order for God to do this new thing, we need to forget the things of the past. And, you know, that's kind of hard to do sometimes for us because letting go of the past is really difficult. But whenever I've read that passage of scripture and I think about the amazing thing that Isaiah is promising that God will do, I mean, my mind always goes to the work of Jesus, right? I mean, when I think about Isaiah saying, I'm about to do a new thing, that new thing for us as Christians is the new thing God did in the person of Jesus. And God made the way to salvation through Jesus. And so I always think of this new thing that God is doing in these big nation kinds of changes and these new large kinds of changes that God is doing for the community. But within this devotional that I was reading, the author of this devotional says, yeah, that may have been the context in which Isaiah was speaking. That may have been the reason why Isaiah was saying what Isaiah was saying. And yet at the same time, maybe we can look at this passage and see a personal thing that's going on as well. And as soon as I started to read that, my mind started to open up to all kinds of new possibilities for how, yes, God does these great things in terms of reforming a community, changing a community, these great things that God is doing through the person of Jesus for all humanity. But there's a sense that I think within each of us individually, there's also this idea of reformation and change that can happen in each of us individually. You know, things like going through a period where our lives are changing. For some people, it may be when your children move out and you're now empty nesters, or it could be a time where you are retiring, you're leaving your job, you're no longer doing the job that you had always done. It could be a time of moving away from the home that you lived in for so long, and now you're moving into an assisted living place. But this idea where there is this personal change is sometimes really concerning. It feels really empty sometimes to think of these kinds of personal changes that are going on in our lives. And I know a lot of folks that I've talked to, and I've even experienced this as well in some ways, a lot of folks that I talk to talk about how it feels as if it can be so empty, these periods of change. And we want to hang on to the past. We want to look to the past. We want to embrace the past while at the same time we can't, because things are becoming different. Now think about the context of your own personal life and hear this passage again. Do not remember the former things. What are those former things that you're remembering? Those former things that you're longing for? Do not remember the former things or consider the things of old. What are those things of the past that you just hold on to that are hard to let go of? Then listen to this verse. I am about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? You see, I think the hardest thing about us dealing with personal change is we see so much of those things that we're letting go and that emptiness that it's creating that we forget the promise of God to bring renewal. And again, it's not just for a nation. It's not just for all of humanity. It's for us individually and personally. Letting go of the past is tough. And yet sometimes the only way to move forward is to recognize what God has in store for the future.